start with our class. Maybe some of you, I met some of you last year in Toronto, World Congress of Sociology, and at that time, actually I a little worried, could we hold that, can we hold that event? But finally we made it. So I hope you enjoy this conference and maybe have enough dialogue or many dialogue discussion with colleagues from several countries. Actually, at this time, around maybe 80 to 100 people will engage in this event, and we include many countries, not just Korea, Japan, China, and Taiwan, but others from US and Australia and other countries too. I saw some Western people here, so I think through this event, many scholars can work together and cooperate in their study. This ISESEA, 7th ISESEA, the subject is a social access to climate change and energy transition in East Asia. As you know, climate change is much serious, and nowadays, not just Greta Thunberg, we have many Greta Thunberg in Korea too. So they make alarm to the maybe existing generation of older people to make more attention to climate change, but we are still behind. And actually in this week, Korea holds a very important international event. That was Korea International Renewable Energy Conference, Seoul 2019. It just happened until yesterday. So nowadays, energy transition is very important global task, global challenge, not just in Korea, but other countries too. Our greenhouse gas emission is ever increasing now, so we should make more aggressive effort to respond to climate change for our planet and our survival. Actually, this event is sponsored by Korea Association for Environmental Sociology and RC24. So the President Deborah gave us her video speech. So I want to open our event with that video speech. So
on Environment and Society in the International Sociological Association. I want to welcome you all to the 7th International Symposium on Environmental Sociology in East Asia. I want to thank the organizers, particularly Professor Seejae Yoon, Director of the Institute for Sustainable Development, for putting in all the hard work that is involved in organizing a large symposium such as this. I very much wish that I could join you today, but I was unable to make that happen. And so I also want to express my gratitude to Professor Yoon for inviting me to say a few words. I'm so impressed with the program that is about to begin, including several discussions about climate change, but also energy systems, both fossil fuel systems and renewable systems, social movements and the politics of transition, sustainability at the community level and beyond, risk and disaster impacts and response, and many sessions focused on environmental sociology as a field, what defines Asian environmental sociology, and the theories that we use to guide our scholarship. This last set of topics I consider to be especially important and noteworthy. The foundations of our field were laid by scholars who came entirely from the West. And much as I respect and honor those founders and what they have offered us all as scholars today, broadening our basis to encompass non-Western theoretical and empirical contributions is absolutely fundamental to the vibrancy and relevance of any discipline. But this is especially so for the environmental social sciences. In this particular instance, Southeast Asia is well recognized as a climate vulnerability hotspot and the location of many other serious environmental disruptions. So the empirical work that you are all doing is urgent and must be shared internationally. How the impacts of environmental disruption unfold through socio-ecological systems in the West and the strategies that we devise in response to them are all too often mistakenly interpreted as universal, but they are not. Some elements of environmental disruption are indeed universal. The weight of political power and the injustices associated with the distribution of environmental harm can be seen everywhere on this planet. But nonetheless, there are particular regional characteristics to these processes and all of the other processes associated with this society-environment relations that are important to bring forward into our understanding and responses. On the theoretical side, the attendees here today have a unique capacity to critically examine worldviews, both inside and outside academia, and introduce new ones. It is no surprise to me at all that environmental sociology in Southeast Asia has become one of the largest and most vibrant arms of our international environmental sociology family. And this brings me to our upcoming 4th World Forum of Sociology to be held in Porto Alegre, Brazil, next summer in July 2020. The forum theme is Challenges of the 21st Century, Democracy, Environment, Inequities, and Intersectionality. You'll notice that all 4 elements of this forum theme also happen to be central topics in environmental sociology. And we will be holding more sessions than ever this year, including co-hosting a common session. And, special note for young scholars, we're planning a special conference, pre-conference activity, a workshop focused on the professional and personal needs of our young scholars. I know many of you have submitted abstracts for our sessions, and session organizers are working hard to review those and develop our final program. So stay tuned, and we will hopefully be able to post that program very soon. I hope very much to meet many of you there. But meanwhile, please enjoy the next 3 days of discussion. Always remember that your work is absolutely important, and that collaboration and support among scholars is always more productive than competition. So enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you next summer.
To have a connection with the RC24, not just isolated meetings between ourselves. It's better to have international connection. So they celebrate, RC24 celebrate our meeting here, ISESEA. I think it is very honorable. So we will make more connection with environmental sociologists in other countries, especially not just in East Asia, but also non-East Asian countries. Yeah, I hope you enjoy our environment here too. This university is the university I belong to. This is Graduate School of Environmental Studies of Seoul National University. We have rooftop garden here, so if you wanna take some break, you can climb up. So there is elevator and stairs too, so you can catch rooftop garden, and you can enjoy all the landscape of SNU. You can find over there, so it is very nice. So this week we had very nice weather, so I hope, it is very nice. We have a wonderful conference at SNU, but the temperature went down a little bit, so I prepared a toothpick, I think. Sweating now. So anyway, it is very nice to have you here, and we will have congratulation remark from Chief Director of Daejeon Sejong Institute. He was ex-president of Korea Association for Environmental Sociology. His name is Park Jae-moo. Please clap for him.
It is a unique honor and privilege to have the opportunity of speaking at the opening ceremony. First of all, I would like to welcome to the 7th International Symposium on Environmental Sociology in East Asia, both domestic and foreign scholars. In addition, I would like to congratulate with all the participants that this symposium has been held continuously since its inception in 2007 and has evolved into an established academic forum for East Asian environmental sociologists to communicate and share information, knowledge, and perspectives. I was surprised to find that about 80 papers were published at the symposium. The theme of the symposium is the social action to climate change and energy transition in East Asia. As the world admits, climate change is the defining global issue of our time, and we are at a defining moment. Climate change is calling on everyone on the planet to act right now. And climate change and energy transition are closely related issues. This is because energy transition is essential to climate change mitigation. In this sense, the theme of the symposium is timely and appealing to world citizens. As we know, East Asia has been known as the most dynamic region in the global community since the late 20th century. Japan was once referred to as the only non-Western country to succeed in modernization, while Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Singapore were rated as 4 dragons for their rapid industrialization. Although China pushed for industrialization belatedly, it became one of the G2 players. Although the timing of industrialization is different, East Asian countries all share the story of successful industrialization. Now, East Asian countries need to demonstrate their potential in dealing with global environmental problems and thus creating a new civilization. While individual countries' effort to solve problems will be fundamental, they will need to further develop the regional cooperative systems so that stronger and more effective policies are encouraged each other among member countries, and individual countries, technology and experiences can be shared. I hope that East Asian environmental sociologists can contribute great to creating a collaborative atmosphere in this region. Finally, I would like to thank Professor Yoon and other officials of organizing committee for their great effort to preparing the symposium as the venue for the best academic exchange. I wish all participants of the symposium a pleasant stay in Seoul. Thank you very much for attention.
And thank you very much for your congratulation remark. Yeah, now we will have a keynote speech from now on. We have two keynote speakers. So one is James Lockie. Stewart, I'm sorry, Stewart Lockie. I'm very sorry. I'm very confused. It is very honorable because he is working for James Cook University, so it is not maybe easy to travel to come here. But last year I met him in Toronto and I asked him to come here and he said yes. So I could hear very positive answer, so I was so glad. And finally, we can have here today. So we have two members, and another one is Seejae. He was the ex-president of Korea Association for Environmental Sociology, and he is the founder of Korea Association for Environmental Sociology. Yeah, so the first, Stewart Lockie will give us the keynote speech. Maybe you can have his every schedule on page 16. So his speech, the title of his speech is Adapt, Transition, Transformation, the multiple temporalities of social action on climate change. Thank you. It's your time. Please clap for
So this is Irukandji country. Now you might think this is a strange kind of country. It looks more like a coral reef with a giant plant. And you'd be right, because Irukandji country used to extend from the current coastline out to the continental shelf. And most of what we now know of as the Great Barrier Reef was dry land. So during the cultural memory and the oral tradition of the Irukandji and other Aboriginal peoples of the Great Barrier Reef hinterland, most of what we understand as a wild, natural wilderness ecosystem was in fact dry land. And that's the relevance of that to my talk will become clearer as I go on. I will say that I never ever keep to time when I usually get off topic, so please start waving wildly when you need me to stop talking. The good thing about being the first up is that there's plenty of time for you to come and ask me what I really meant during the conference. So I've picked a few words here that relate in some way to social action on climate change: adapt, transition, transform. Now, if we start with a concept like energy transition, a term we often hear both in environmental politics and in mainstream politics, the need for an energy transition. And we just start by asking, why transition? Why not energy sustainability? Why not energy transformation? Why not energy revolution? Now, in posing those questions, I'm not asking you to reflect on the politics of language. I'm asking you to reflect on the politics of time. Because the way we think about time, sociologically, is not obvious. Time appears through all branches of general social theory. Sometimes it's taken for granted. Sometimes time is nothing but increments. Uniform increments on the x-axis. At other times, though, time and space are interwoven in much more sophisticated accounts of how we control bodies, how we control movement, how we understand the locus of power and the changing locus of power in society. If we go back to the First Nations people of Australia, think about the way that movement was controlled. For many decades, people's movement was highly prescribed. Movement is not just about space, movement is about time. Movement is about what you can do with your own body. Time becomes a really important sociological category. I have a watch, a Garmin. My Garmin tells me when it thinks I'm being unproductive. It tells me when it doesn't think I'm using my time well. So I think there's a lesson there, and the lesson is mostly to remove the, I don't even know what you call it. It's not app. It's whatever you call the other little things that are embedded in your devices. I know there's some way to tell it to stop talking to me, but I haven't quite worked out what that is yet. So, again, the politics of time. Now, wherever you come from, there will be fairly iconic ways in which the politics around climate change are expressed. Now, for a number of years in Australia, one of the major tropes in climate politics has been the Great Barrier Reef, and that's why I picked the reef as the major empirical case I'll refer to today. I really wanted to talk about agriculture and some other things that I'm working on, but I decided on the reef because the reef has become globally such an emblematic issue for climate change. Barack Obama, when he was in Australia for G20 meetings, very publicly really rebukes the Australian government for their climate policy by invoking the reef. The reef was something that Australia held in trust for the world and which he wanted his daughters to have the opportunity to visit. Greenpeace and other environmental NGOs regularly use the reef. So we don't even have to call it the Great Barrier Reef because it's like a pop star. It just goes by one name. They regularly invoke the reef in climate politics, and it's sort of a this or that, black or white kind of situation. You either have coal or you have the reef. You either do something on climate change or you have the reef. You either support the reef or you kill the reef. This sort of image, coal is killing the reef. We see that manifest in many ways, even down to the level of approvals for individual coal mines. It's you approve this coal mine or you support the reef. So the reef has become this emblematic thing, and in some senses that sounds like it's a politics of space, a politics of what we keep in place, but it's very fundamentally the politics of time. The idea coming through all over and over is we must act now. We must stop everything that increases greenhouse gas emissions now, or we kill the reef. The reef has been displaced a little bit over the last year or so by the children's climate movement. So, not displaced altogether, but the two things start coming together. So in this photo, you see time manifest in lots of ways. Obviously, the children are now representing the future. So we act now, or we steal the future. It's similar to the way in which Giddens talked about industrialisation as a colonisation of the future. We need to stop colonising the future, or we compromise the lives of these young people. But we still get the reef in here. How will I ever find Nemo if Adani destroys our reef? Adani is one coal miner. Quit coal investment now. So the future is represented in young people and in the reef, in this large coral system, and young people represent the future. So those sorts of politics, I'm sure, are quite familiar to most of you. Climate change politics become a competition to define time. But I want to suggest to you that there's many more ways in which we might think about time in relation to climate change, and they're quite important. in this sort of movement politics, everything is about acting now. Now, this particular debate that we had leading up to our last national election became very, very divisive because a lot of people depend on fossil fuel industries for their livelihoods, or they believe they depend on the fossil fuel industry for their livelihoods. The coal sector in particular has done a very good job of convincing people that the national economy and national jobs depend on coal. They convinced people that Australia rode through the global financial crisis because of coal. There's almost zero evidence that that's actually the case, but they've been able to convince people that's the case. Politics of time are critical here. For a large number of Australian people, the idea of an abrupt transformation from a fossil fuel-based economy to a renewables economy is not something they're very comfortable with. It's not necessarily a lot of coal, although it may be. Some people do have occupational identities tied up working in coal mines. But it's about fear about and anxiety about their own future. What happens if we just shut down our biggest exporter? What happens if we shut down our biggest single contributor to gross domestic product? What does that mean for my future? Whether it's my job or my business, maybe my children's opportunities. It creates this other anxiety. It also creates that very polarised debate. Also feeds into a sense of injustice amongst people, particularly people who work within the fossil fuel industries. Why am I being blamed for the death of the Great Barrier Reef? I know the reef is actually still there, even if it has been degraded by bleaching events. Much of it is undegraded. I know it's still there. I know that I work in one coal mine when there are thousands of mines around the world. I know that in other countries, they're still opening mines and building coal-fired power stations. I know that we have environmental management plans in place and we try and do a good job. I know all this stuff, but somehow I'm being blamed for stealing the future. So, as this sort of politics ramps up, so does the opposition. In urban electorates, this tends to play really well. In regional electorates, that sense of injustice, even amongst people who think, yeah, climate change is a real thing, we've got to get on top of drought policy, we've got to treat all these things far more seriously, that sense of injustice feeds discontent. A sense of injustice around who owns or who is destroying the future. So I want to come back and just think about a few different ways in which we might conceptualise the movement of things through time. Now, it would be really nice if time's along the bottom, the x-axis, and you can put almost anything on the y-axis up and down. It would be really nice if whether it's biodiversity or mean global temperatures, whatever you value, it would be really nice if they just stayed steady through time. That would be great. We know it doesn't happen very often. In fact, even in so-called natural systems, we know that things happen. A big storm might come through a forest and knock over a patch of trees, or there might be a fire. So we know that there are bumps along the way and that a new steady state might emerge. We know that actually nothing is ever steady state, that there's movement up and down. But in this kind of figure, even though whatever's on our y-axis, biodiversity or temperature or precipitation or discharge from river systems, whatever it is changes up and down over time, we know that it still more or less evens out. That would be really nice. It would be really nice if things stayed that way. What we usually hear about climate change is that climate change is not likely to be linear. Actually, before I get to that, this is the sort of understanding of climate change that is embedded in things like the IPCC reports, where we see mean rise in temperatures towards an estimate in 2050 or the end of the century or whatever. So we kind of get the impression of a linear, nice, neat linear increase. And the reason that sort of thinking is embedded in IPCC reports is because we don't have the modelling techniques to take account of things like threshold effects and high levels of variability. Like I said, it's too early. In reality, we know things are rarely linear. Climate change is likely to be discontinuous and non-linear. So that's a non-linear one. So something like climate change can accelerate. Or could we sea level rise? Could we loss of biodiversity? Small changes now might build up into bigger changes later on. So we might see a non-linear effect. We can also see discontinuous effects or threshold effects where things change suddenly very quickly. So instead of this sort of scenario where we have a bit of a blip and things return to a similar sort of steady state afterwards, things stay on an altogether different trajectory afterwards. Now that probably all seems pretty obvious, right? You've all heard before many times the statements that climate change is likely to be discontinuous and non-linear. Most of the climate scientists I know who contribute to things like IPCC will say much the same thing. They'll say the modelling doesn't adequately capture that non-linearity, but it's the best model we've got, and it kind of doesn't matter anyway for things like mitigation policy later. So I'm not quite sure that's right. But we kind of know all that. But yet how often do we really think about that in relation to the way in which we conceive of things like energy transitions? So just going to what this might mean for environmental management. Not necessarily climate change specifically, but any realm of environmental management. When I first went to university back in the 1980s, everything was about conservation. When I was 20, I thought I was going to be a soil conservation officer. And I was going to spend my career looking at aerial photos of farms and building contour banks and building dams, making sure the soil stayed where it was supposed to, and making sure the water got into the soil profile. It was all about keeping things more or less as they are. Of course, we don't see a sort of steady state, so the idea of resilience really plays into the understanding that we do see perturbations, and so we need to plan not just to keep things as they are, but to deal with changes in the surrounding environmental conditions. So if we get a really big storm on our farm, we've got to be able to deal with the damage, bounce back, find another desirable steady state. So these things are kind of additive. And then if we look at this sort of variation around the mean, the task of environmental management really becomes about reducing the risk, reducing the sizes of those peaks and troughs. That's pretty much where things were at when I first went to university. Now, if our environmental values, whichever we're looking for, doesn't matter whether it's climate or something else, if we know that there's a risk of things slowly getting worse, then the task becomes one of looking for an orderly transition. This is why I specifically focused on the language of energy transition at the start, because we hear about the need for an orderly transition in our energy systems all the time. Right here in Australia, and I'm sure it's going to be the same in most of the countries you come from, is the need for a staged and orderly transition from fossil fuels to renewables. Orderly decarbonisation and orderly decarbonisation of our energy sector will enable us to continue our lifestyles at minimal disruption, at minimal cost. We will keep people in jobs. We will slowly re-educate those who are working in industries that are going to die away, enabling them to shift seamlessly from driving coal machinery to working in solar farms and wind farms. And everybody will be happy. And in some sectors that may be entirely possible. I'm not completely convinced, in fact I'm not at all convinced, that in relation to energy it's feasible. I think that if we were dealing with something that really was on a nice, neat linear trajectory, an orderly transition would be very feasible. I'm just not convinced that that's actually where we're at. Now, if our trajectory is non-linear, that starts to suggest to me that environmental management needs to become a bit more adventurous. The transition's not really where it's at. And if it's discontinuous, that suggests to me we have to be very, very transformational. Now, I said I wasn't going to talk today about agriculture, but I'll just quickly mention a project I'm working on at the moment for the Australian Chief Scientist on advanced technologies in agriculture. So we've done a review nationally. This is through the Australian Council of Learned Academies. We've done a review of where advanced technologies are being applied in agriculture, how they're being applied, and the extent to which they're addressing things like climate variability and climate change. And we don't see much of this. We don't see much of this at all. We see incremental change to existing systems. We see people using all sorts of interesting new technologies, all the sorts of technologies that lend themselves to automation, to better seasonal forecasting, to using artificial intelligence and decision support, to using nanotechnology, gene editing, all this kind of stuff. We see it being adapted, being used to enable people to do what they're currently doing a little bit more efficiently. The example I like to pick on is nanotechnology. We're spending millions of dollars, probably billions of dollars on nanotechnology research so that pesticides can become a little bit more efficacious. And I think, really, we are really spending all that money so that pesticide is a little bit more effective. To what end? We can sell pesticide in smaller drums. Where is the change? It's exceptionally incremental. It will enable agriculture to move in very, very small steps in line with climate change. But if this is really what's going to happen, it's likely to be maladaptive. I'll get to that one. In any case, these latter ways of thinking about time sort of scream urgency. They scream, whatever we do, we have to do it really quickly. And in climate politics, that's tended to lead to a very strong focus on mitigation and adaptation. Again, I'm sure you've all heard, been hearing for the last 20 years, IPCC and similar processes haven't dealt adequately with adaptation. It's just because mitigation is so urgent. The more we mitigate, the less we have to adapt. So, just very quickly, I'd suggest that if this is the trajectory we're on, then reducing emissions at a fairly consistent rate makes a lot of sense. If we're on a non-linear trajectory, then the idea of increasing ambition starts to make sense. I think this is where the Paris talks are really at. The idea of, well, we'll make some commitments now, and we'll ask everybody to come back in 2 years later and make their commitments good to go. And it doesn't look like they're going to, but that's sort of where we're at. Over time, we'll do more. But if this is what's really going to happen, then what we need to do is to bring those commitments further forward. Okay, so the way we think about time probably suggests, at least in my mind, orderly transition in our energy systems and a gradual ratcheting up of our ambition in reducing emissions probably doesn't match the kind of change that we'd like to see. But what about adaptation? I wanted to get here. I'm not going to deal with it properly in the amount of time that I've got. But I wanted to get you focused on something other than mitigation for the conference, and to ask questions about, well, how does thinking about time lead us to actually start rethinking adaptation and think about adaptation in a slightly different way? In a similar sense, if we're on a linear trajectory, then incremental adaptation is okay. The sort of thing I talked about in relation to agriculture is okay. We gradually increase water efficiency. We stay ahead of changes in water availability. Makes sense. If, however, we're on a much steeper trajectory of change, or we face the possibility of quite abrupt change, we need to start thinking about adaptation that's not just transformative, but adaptation that's quite preemptive. It concerns me a great deal that if we're implementing incremental adaptation, and I've been thinking lately about agriculture, but it could be in relation to energy or any other sector. Incremental adaptation isn't necessarily cheap. We can spend a lot of money putting systems in place that are not going to be suitable in 10 or 20 years' time, when the climate is on a whole different trajectory itself. So we could be sinking money into new agricultural technologies, new ways of doing things in our energy system, new urban environments that are completely maladapted. They may be wonderfully well adapted to 1.2 degrees of climate change, and completely unadapted and maladapted at 1.5 or 2 degrees. So adaptation, I think, doesn't need to just be on the agenda in a much more substantial way than it currently is. I think we need to actually start problematizing adaptation a little bit more as well. Which brings me to this program. How am I going for time? 15 or 20 minutes left? That's great. So I'm problematizing time. I should probably problematize the amount of time I've got, right? Now, I've been involved in this research program for a few years. We've really just been moving through a sort of proof of concept and planning phase, and we've now got a proposal before the federal government for $100 million. So it's a consortium of all these organisations, including mine, all the major research bodies involved in coral reef research in Australia. And we're looking at reef restoration and adaptation. There's a lot of words there. So don't worry about it. My wife says no one outside of Australia can understand my accent. She's from the Philippines, so she tells me to put lots of words on my PowerPoint slide, and people just read them and ignore me. In fact, the first couple of years we were married, whenever we were talking about anything like mortgages, she would say, I can't understand you, put it in a PowerPoint presentation. Now, what I want you to look at is the bit on the left. I know the words are a bit small, but in this program, we're looking at whether it's technically, economically, and socially feasible to develop management options for coral reefs that currently don't exist. Management options that will help protect them from climate change, recover from damage, and adapt to climate change that we haven't yet seen. Now, protection, well, that doesn't sound too likely to be too controversial, maybe expensive, so we'll rule it out economically, and maybe it's not technically possible, but socially that sounds fine. Protecting reefs, that sounds good. What that means is regional scale geoengineering. Geoengineering tends to have a bit of a bad name. So we're looking at whether it is technically, economically, socially feasible to do regional geoengineering to lower the heat load on coral reefs. Across a system that's about 2,000 kilometres long and 100 kilometres wide. World's largest coral reef system. So that's the protection bit. Restoration, okay, that's probably nothing so controversial there. We're just looking at things like coral gardening, collecting and resettling coral spawn. But forced adaptation, deliberately forcing evolutionary processes using relocation of species, using gene editing and genetic engineering. Experience in the food sector tells us that is likely to be very controversial. And, okay, so there's another slide for this one. That seems to happen a lot whenever you transfer from one program to another. Scientifically, this is actually very, very controversial with assisted evolution. Within the US forest sector, there's been a big debate over whether you can do things as simple as move tree species around. And given how highly managed forests are, you wouldn't think that's likely to be all that controversial. You would expect that in a system like a coral reef, concern would be amplified because people imagine coral reefs as wilderness. Most people imagine coral reefs as wildernesses, places that should be left relatively untouched. Yeah, okay, so one slide went missing altogether. That's okay. What I was going to make one other substantive slide was talking about some social research we've done around this program, and we've looked at people's sentiment or their disposition towards this kind of intervention. These quite out there, big interventions in the future of the reef, in evolutionary processes, in time. What we find, stakeholders like conservation groups active within the reef, very, very suspicious. Very suspicious, very, very high levels of concern. The general population, not so sure. Don't know. More positive than negative, certainly more positive than negative, but a bit unsure. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Australians. Now, who wants to hazard a guess? Are Indigenous Australians going to be more supportive of this kind of intervention or opposed to this kind of intervention? Am I going to force you to raise your hands? Who reckons supportive? Who reckons Indigenous Australians are going to think a bit of geoengineering sounds good? A bit of gene editing sounds like a good idea? Or who thinks, no, they're going to say that is a terrible idea, let the system evolve? So the only people brave enough to have a view of saying it's a terrible idea. And the rest of you are very right to not stick your hand up because you're afraid of getting the wrong answer because they're completely wrong. Indigenous Australians are the most supportive. Now, why are they the most supportive? They don't think of the reef as a wilderness that's evolved independent of humans. They have a fundamentally different conception of space and time and the reef. In their minds, caring for the reef, caring for their own community, expressing their rights as a community are all interwoven. And if caring for the reef means some pretty out there research, it means they should be involved in the research and they should be involved in decision making about implementing any findings. Not that we should stay away from it. So it's very, very interesting. And I fully believe that controversy around this will ratchet up. I sit in university research committee meetings now, where we have people from one coral reef related research centre accusing the others of being involved in greenwashing and political obfuscation. It's really nasty already, and we haven't even started. So as a sociologist, it's a great program to be involved in. We're going to have publications about scientific controversy and climate politics, and it's going to be great for our productivity. that will ratchet up. And we're getting this really, going to have a really interesting disjunction between the politics of the mainstream environmental movement and the politics of Indigenous Australians. So I'll leave it there, because I'm sure lots of threads still left unravelled. My last statement on time was, of course, just to note that Porto Alegre is in the southern hemisphere, but our president, Deborah, talks about going there in summer. You will in fact be going there in winter. But if you've missed a chance to get an abstract, there's 2 meetings on in Australia next. Our winter, your summer, one this one on rural sustainability in July, and another one, International Symposium on Society and Natural Resources in late June, and I can give you information about either of those. Thank you.
Maybe if we attend this event, maybe we can meet again. Anyway, I think Stewart Lockie emphasized maybe we consider climate change as a kind of incremental maybe phenomena or symptom, but maybe not. So we need to think more about some levels or some emergent or unlocked change. So maybe as a person who do not speak English as a origin, when I visited Australia, I asked what's the difference between transition and transformation, because it was not easy for me to understand. But your presentation shows the difference between transition and transformation. Maybe the big difference. But anyway, we should change our politics, and maybe it is not just a technical application can solve this problem. Social and economic change is required, but it is not just a very slow or incremental change. That climate change is very serious challenge to our current fossil fuel-based civilization. But anyway, we have not much time left. Our second keynote speaker is Seejae. And I didn't give more detailed introduction to Stewart Lockie. He was ex-president of IC24, and currently he is chief editor of Journal of Environmental Sociology. So please write more papers and submit. Our next keynote speaker is Seejae. He is emeritus professor of Catholic University of Korea, and he was ex-president of Korea Association for Environmental Sociology. Please give flash to him.
Thank you very much for your introduction. And welcome our members from East Asian countries and other continents. I'm really pleased to have this 7th environmental sociology symposium in Korea. Let me talk a little bit about the beginning of this organization. I was in Beijing in 2006, Lockie University, and in 2006 there is a very big conference in Lockie University. Even though the Chinese sociology, environmental sociology was not closely connected with the World Congress of Sociology, but really big, really famous professors from America and Europe came to attend there. And Professor Hong Dae-young hosted the conference, and I suggested him to invite from scholars from Japan and Korea. And so we met there, China, Korea, Japan, at Lehman University to launch an association, East Asian Environmental Sociological Association at that time. That was the beginning, and the first symposium was held in Tokyo, Hosei University. To talk about Hosei University, I remember again, Professor Funabashi, really my personal friend who passed away in 2015. And we had a memorial event in 2017 at Sendai, Tohoku University, and we talked about him in his publication on shared loss. Afterwards, he his book was published, and he is really strong supporters, really founding member of this institution, Environmental Sociological Network. So I met you again. And I will talk about my subject. I was given a title, it's not my choice. The whole thing is climate change and transition of energy. And last year it was, so I said, okay, because I want to support this conference, but I'm not a special expert in climate change and energy transition and such. But I prepared a short paper. It did not take a long time to give a presentation. I will start now. People, I work then.
시간 지키셔야 돼요.
시간
시간 지켜주셔야 돼요.
시간.
시간이 많이.
Never mind. People in some part of South China, Japan, and Korea have to suffer from immense disaster by repeated waves of record-breaking typhoon this summer. We still remember a huge typhoon of recent times attacked Japanese archipelago and resulted in about 100 casualties, destruction of dams, overflows of rivers, which consequently result in immense damage to Japanese people and properties. We recently experienced changes in extreme weather pattern and the hydrological cycles every year and taking place, which bring forth intense high rainfall, drought, and unexpected extreme weather events. It is now evident to us these extreme weather events are brought forth from the rapid climate change. Climate change is caused by accumulation and increase of greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide in particular. We have so far imagined as a consequence of climate change long climate processes such as sea level rise, salinization of agricultural land, desertification, and growing water scarcity, which we do not yet experience in our immediate lives. It happens somewhere in the world, but we have to admit that we are already experiencing climate events such as high heat, extreme cold weather, and flooding and storms. In 1990, the IPCC reported that greatest single impact of climate change could be human migration. Millions of people would be displaced by shoreline erosion, coastal flooding, and agricultural disruption. Climate migration or climate refugee is projected to increase to 2 million by 2050. It depends on how we approach this problem. What is problem here is that those who are least responsible for climate change suffer its greatest consequences. Climate change affects differently on different people, different communities and countries. It is fundamentally related to justice, human rights, and collective rights and responsibilities. A case study on the Hurricane Katrina, which is most probably related to the climate change, it happened in 2005, hit thousands of the United States in 2005, showed differential effect of climate change on different groups of people. Those people such as poor, black, elderly, sick, and homeless people could not afford enough resources to cope with the disaster and limited ability to evacuate before the storm. East Asian countries are gravely responsible for global accumulation of carbon emissions. These countries are in transition from world factory to now world consumer market. Particularly China, among East Asian countries, become a world top emission country, followed by United States. Historically, the United States and European Union are countries of the European Union are more heavily responsible for the climate change. Moreover, per capita emission of carbon dioxide in China is still very low compared with other developed countries. But currently, East Asian countries, China, Japan, Korea are heavy polluters of the atmosphere. China 27%, Japan 3.3%, Korea, South Korea 1.7% respectively in 2017. The speed of increase in carbon emission are very rapid. In addition, East Asian countries are also big consumers countries, which also contribute to accumulation of carbon emission. In this sense, the East Asian countries are in position to review consumption as well as production in terms of carbon emission. In terms of carbon emission, the situation is not favorable in Korea. Among the 35 OECD countries, Korea was the fourth high emission country, following the United States, Japan, and Germany. You know that. While OECD countries' emissions increased by 8.7%, Korea, on the contrary, increased by 24.6% during the last 10 years. It was because Korea heavily depends on the fossil energy, particularly coal in the power plant. On the other hand, Germany is most successful in the energy transition. The portion of renewable energy of Germany reached 40%, and it increased to the 65% by 2030. The portion of nuclear power production is also presently 12% now, but it will be reduced to zero. Ecological limits. China. Sorry, I talk too much about China. China, though a high emission country, is also one of the greatest victims of the climate change. The road in north and western China has been 40 years that great number of lakes and rivers are in the area already dried up. Sanjiang Yuan, the source of three rivers, the Yellow River, Yangtze River, and the Lanchang River region is considered to be a rich source of China's total ecology. This area provides respective 25%, 49%, and 15% of water source into Yangtze, Yellow, and Lanchang rivers. These Southeast Asian countries are covered by these three rivers. This Sanjiang region used to be surrounded by snow mountains and ice rivers, and show the concentration of lakes in Hong. Ecology of Sanjiang area in Qinghai province, which also has been called China's water tower, has been continuously aggravated, so that perpetual ice cap in the Chimalai County reportedly increased by 95%. Matuo County, that used to be have 4,000 lakes, has only 3,000 lakes now. Grass fields in the area of source of the Yangtze River and the Lanchang River also got deteriorated due to the drought and lead damage. In this area, 50% of rivers are dried up, and the level of underground water down more than 5 meters in 10 years. As early as in 1980, the mother country was the renowned rich country because now, because of ecological degradation, decrease of water supply, drying of lakes, deterioration of the grassland, part of the nomad tribes who do not but move to other places and fall finally into ecological refuges. Between 1980 and 1990, the average flow volume of Yangtze, Yellow, Lanchang rivers decreased respectively 24, 27, and 13%. In 1997, the Yellow River had run dry to the end, did not reach to the run dry to the end of the river for 226 days. The Yellow River did not reach the sea, Yellow Sea, and the river dried up to the 700 kilometers. After the year 2000, Chinese government took strict measures to allocate water resources so as to stop the dry run in Yellow River, and the river flow is very small. Now, as you see, I would like to call this kind of extreme deterioration of ecology as ecological limits, or almost tipping point for human living. Times ecology is just one example. We are faced with comparable ecology limits in all over the world. Coastal rise up in Southeast Asian countries deprive the people of people's living who had to depend on the marine ecology. Millions of people had to leave their homes, and nomad people lose their grass fields due to climate change in other Asian and African countries. There are some characteristics of the ecological victims. First, it is the physically or biologically weak that are most exposed to the suffering. Children, older people, women are the physically weak category of society in victimization. Secondly, it is the socially weak people, the poor, minorities, powerless, and discriminated to be prone to be victimized. Those who have, as shown in the case study of Hurricane Katrina, sufficient resources, mobility means could means evacuate themselves in advance. Thirdly, those who have to depend on the natural resources for living are mostly gravely victimized. Farmers, fishermen, nomad people are directly dependent on natural resources. The erosion of the soil, rise of sea level, and desertification will directly give an impact to their lives. It is why the climate change is directly related to the environmental justice. To build a carbon-free coalition, when we study the social movement, I think it is important to identify factors that constitute comprehensive successful movement. We have identified four goals to reach, means to be done, mobilized, and the obstacles to the movement in the political environment and the social movement agents. To control climate change is no doubt our immediate goal to ensure sustainable development for future generations. We may simply also agree that decarbonization of our economy will be the most essential part of our target to realize a sustainable society and economy. Who are the polluters? It is enterprises that pollute commodities and use enormous carbon source energies. It is a commercial business that use the urban energies and electricity. It is also the citizens in general who consume carbon source energy to produce. In addition, it is a government that took responsibility to produce local fossil energy-based power. Government, business, citizens are all the responsible for carbon emission and finally for climate change. There is also differential responsibilities. Business and government are more responsible than citizens. developed countries are more responsible than the developing countries, and the rich are the more responsible than the poor. It is eventually government and enterprise that can effectively solve the problem of climate change. However, government and enterprises generally are more concerned with the economic growth than fundamental issues of climate change. It is evident that national interests, business chances are thought in the negotiation tables of COPs, which are supposed to counter the climate change on global level. However, it is the citizens of respective countries that can change the government policies, control the business activities, while the national representatives tend to stick to the national interests. International environment NGOs such as the Climate Action Network make more fundamental voices to control the climate change. Ideas and perspective of climate justice came from the such united citizens of the world. Some European countries achieved the impressive outcome in climate change because they form a functioning governance where the citizens, the business, and the government are invited to produce effective policies pertaining to the climate change. Therefore, climate justice clearly related to the democratic participation, and not to mention the human rights and justice and equality. Therefore, citizen action and participation are most essential starting point for all changes. In East Asian countries, there is a new political trend. That is the rise of authoritarianism. Political authoritarianism needs to be combined with nationalism and hatred for the neighboring countries. Such a political power vis-a-vis civil society and the business world become more and more overwhelming, which runs counter to the trend in the age of globalization and the post-modernity. There are some countries like Korea and Taiwan which are making a new turn in energy policy, both of denuclearization and decarbonization of energy production. This change has been brought forth by the political changes made by people's movement. In addition, there is a kind of carbon alliance or coalition as well as a nuclear alliance comprising business, government department, political leaders, and media people, scientists, and transnational corporations, etc. They are in concert to denounce and mock those who promote denuclearization of energy, implementation of renewable energy system. In Korea, electric rate is relatively cheap. The political leaders recognize the necessity to raise the rate, but it is political leaders and government officials that oppose the rise of electric rate because citizens in global do not want to pay more. Major mass media tend to demonize the renewable energy since they are more dependent on the advertising from the power companies. For the last several years, issues of fine dust became more important with air pollution, since the microparticle was recognized as a cancer-causing agent. People in Korea are terrified by repeated wave of fine dust, particularly in wintertime. The air cleaners are recently one of the most popular electric appliances in Korea. It is widely recognized that the source of such fine dust were majorly coal-fired power plants and automobiles. It became evident that some sources of fine dust were foreign countries. Some part of the dust and yellow dust are transport of pollutants. Parents with small children are particularly sensitive to the fine dust issues. Since the citizens in general are concerned with the fine dust issues, elimination of or mitigation or elevation of the fine dust become a major political priority for central and local governments. I know that such a book was identified in China, where the people are seriously suffered from the fine dust. And the Chinese government took extraordinary measures to cut sources of fine dust in recent years. From several years ago, issues of fine dust become most important. I think this kind of fine dust issues, water shortage, drought, or storms, which directly affect our lives, are socially broad-based for carbon-free coalition. It is finally the united people's power that makes government take actions to control the climate change. Coalition of decarbonization, comprising the citizens, local government, and socially, physically weak victims, will change the government policies to achieve carbon-free, environmentally just society. In Japan, many local NGOs has cooperated with the local government and business enterprises to make a collaboration body to counter climate change. Japan Center for Climate Change Action is one of the good collaboration case to include government, business, and citizens to deal with climate change issues in concrete, local and national levels. It is eventually citizens' consciousness and the leadership of environmental and social movement organizations that can and must mobilize citizens and form a functioning carbon-free coalition within and between countries. Thank you very much.
I think his suggestion about carbon-free coalition is very important, and the role of enlightened citizens is also critical. Thank you very much for your wonderful keynote speech. Yeah, claps again.